So, hello and welcome to the OSS project 4. So, our project was on re-implementing the quiz questionnaires controller. The current controller basically lacked clarity and it had unclear functionality. So, the primary objective of our project was to implement the CRUD operations quiz questionnaire while ensuring that user permissions are also adequately considered for these actions. So, yeah. So starting with the index method. So it's responsible for retrieving a list of quiz questionnaires from the database and presenting it as a JSON response. So here we are using active record to fetch the data and ordering it by ID. So this method you can see is quite straightforward. It fetches quiz questionnaires of type quiz questionnaires, orders them by ID, and then sends the data as a JSON response with a 200 status code. So now let's move on to the show method. So this one retrieves details of a single quiz questionnaire by its ID. If the questionnaire isn't found, we catch the record not found exception and return a 404 status. So moving on to the create method, which is responsible for creating a new questionnaire. So there's a lot going on here, from checking user privileges to validating the request and handling various error scenarios. The create method involves a series of checks and validations before creating a new quiz questionnaire. If all conditions are met, the new questionnaire is saved and its details are returned with a 201 status code. Otherwise, appropriate error messages are rendered. So, moving on to the update action. Yeah. So now, so this one is responsible for updating an existing quiz questionnaire based on the provided parameters. In the update method, we first check the user's privilege. If the user has the required permission, we proceed to update the questionnaire with the provided parameters. If the update is successful, we return the updated questionnaire as JSON with a 200 status code. Otherwise, we handle validation errors and render appropriate error messages with a 402 status code. So now let's move on to the destroy method, which handles the deletion of a quiz questionnaire. Just like other method, it includes a privilege check, and if everything is in order, it proceeds to delete the questionnaire. So this is the copy method. This method creates a copy of a quiz questionnaire based on the provided parameters. It's essential for duplicating questionnaires easily. So now there are also some private methods. So uh, these methods provide essential functionalities like check privilege, verifies if a user has the required vote, team valid ensures the validity of a team, and questionnaire params defines the parameters for creating or updating questionnaire, and check questionnaire type verifies if the questionnaire type is quiz questionnaire. Now let's move on to the postman area. Yeah, here the first part is the login. You see the token is generated. So second, this is basically the create method is executed successfully, as you can see in the postman. So this is the show method where we can see the questionnaires we created. So there were three questionnaires we created. Uh, and so this is the basically the update. So from here we can update the quiz questionnaire. And yeah, so this is the created error. This is basically the quiz question update method running in the postman. So yeah, here's this, yeah, creating the copy that quiz questionnaire. So we can see that. Yeah. So this is the copy of questionnaire that we created. You can create other copies as well. We send the token request. This is another copy created. Now easily delete. We set the user ID to 3. Can delete So yeah, didn't find any user with ID 3 Hmm. So yeah, this has been executed. So yeah, this was the OSS project 4 controller methods that we executed.
In this video, I'm going to show how the testing for the re-implemented quiz questionnaire works. And lastly, we will see how we can generate Swagger API docs using our spec test cases that we have written. So for the quiz questionnaire controller, all the test cases are written in quiz questionnaire spec.rb file. So before running any test, we have written some pre code that is executed before each test case is run. So here we are creating roles, users, assignment that will be temporarily be stored in the database, and that can be used by the test cases to test various functionality of the controller. So we have created a user with ID2 which does not have permission to edit, change, or create or delete the quiz questionnaire. Then we have assignment. One assignment with ID one can take a requires quiz, and another does not require a quiz. And we have a participant, institution, another user which has the role to create, delete, or update a quiz questionnaire. Then we have a team, and we have created two demo or mock quiz questionnaire 1 and 2. And lastly, this is a custom method that we have written to get the authorization token for a particular user that is sent as a parameter to that method. So firstly, we will test the API that is present at the part API slash v1 slash quiz questionnaires. So when we send a get request on that part, we will first set the parameters for the authorization token. So um, we have notified the that method that we are going to set authorization in the header, and here we are setting that authorization value. So if since we have created two quiz questionnaire 1 and quiz questionnaire 2, we should expect the response body size to be equal to 2. If it is equal to 2, then it will return a status code of 200 and a successful message. Then if we send a push method on the same URL, we can use create quiz questionnaire by sending quiz questionnaire parameters. So here all the parameters are mentioned. If we send them, then we can create a quiz questionnaire. So here we again set the authorization token. So if we send valid questionnaire parameter, we will get a response code of 201 created. And here we can check that our response should be have created status code, and it should also include the response body should include the name of the newly created quiz questionnaire, that is test create quiz Q101. Then there are also many cases where uh, this API might fail, so we have to also should fail. So we have also written test for that. For example, if we send invalid parameter, for example, here the mean question score is greater than the max question score, so it should return 422 unprocessable entity. Again, if we have a um, user, we send a user that does not have the permission to create the quiz question, and then it will also return unprocessable entity. Then if we have a pass an assignment that does not require a quiz, so here we're sending assignment ID2 which does not require a quiz, then it also return 422 code saying unprocessable entity. And yeah, so the next part that we'll test is the copy function. So when we send a post request to a to API slash v1 slash quiz questionnaire slash copy and the ID of the quiz questionnaire, then it will generate a clone of that. So before running the test, we create a questionnaire that is to be copied, and if it returns a status score of 200, then it is successfully copied. Otherwise, if we set a ID that is not present in the database, for example 999, then it will uh, return a 404 not found message. Then we will test this API part. So if we send a get request on that part, we are able to retrieve a particular quiz questionnaire with the ID that we sent. So if we send the correct ID, then we will get a 200 successful status score. Otherwise, if we send a ID that is not present in the database, then it will return a 404 not found. We can also send a put request on the same URL with also passing a quiz questionnaire ID that is the ID of the quiz questionnaire that we want to update, along with the parameters that we want to update. So here we create a quiz questionnaire before running the test, and if we also send the parameters and the ID of the questionnaire and the parameters that we want to update. If the update is successful, then it returns a 200 status score of success. Otherwise, if there is any issues, like if we have invalid parameters that has to be updated, like the minimum score is no negative or the instructor ID is not present and the assignment ID is nil, then it returns a 422 unprocessable entity. Also, if the user does not have the permission to update the quiz questionnaire, then it also returns a 422 unprocessable entity. Lastly, we will test the delete API. So here we could, before running the test, we create a questionnaire. Then if the delete is successful, then it returns a 204 error of success and a quiz questionnaire deleted message. If we set the ID to be a ID of the quiz questionnaire to be something that is not present in the database, then it will send a 404 not found error. And finally, if the user that we are the user ID that we are sending and the user does not have the permission to delete the quiz questionnaire, then it will send a 422 unprocessable entity and a message that the user requires permission to delete. Okay, so if we run the test, then you can see that all the test cases ran and it gives 0 failures. Now we will generate the Swagger API doc. You can see that there are 0 failure in generating the Swagger doc. Now we will run the app and check out the Swagger API docs. So the app is running and you can reload this page. Okay, so you can see that there is quiz questionnaire written here with all the API docs here. So if we want to, for example, create a quiz questionnaire, we can just see what are the parameters and what type of status score it returns. So yeah, this is how we had completed the testing of the re-implemented quiz questionnaire controller. Thank you.